Off Script with Super E recommends listener discretion as these real but sometimes uncensored stories can be filled with mature content.
Hey everybody, it's A-Train, and this is Off Script with Super E, and I'm here with Super E.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving. Hey, does my voice sound kind of deeper than usual?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, coming off a bad chest cold, dude. It was bad. So
sorry to hear that, A-Train.
So if I start hacking up a lung, that's the reason. So
Painful.
yeah. So what you got to tell us today?
Well, my sister Jackie, she reminded me of a story that I completely forgot about.
Okay.
And this was many moons ago, back in the 80s. Things were a lot different back in the 80s, everybody. Let's all remember that.
They were, and it wasn't all just flock of seagulls haircuts. It was...
No, it was Frankie Goes to Hollywood haircut and shirt.
Yes, exactly.
So I remember I was in uniform then, patrolling the north side. I was in the area that was still the rough and tumble part of the north side, not the snooty north side, one of 3 miles north.
Yes.
The extremely snooty people that nobody liked. Well, anyways, so I was in this area, 2400 Delaware, 2500 Delaware.
Yeah.
And they had a lot of old homes that were historic homes that people were starting to renovate.
Right.
And move in, and instead of just letting them stand in there and rot away. Well, I was still in uniform, keeping it real, and I was driving up the street, and I saw a bunch of dudes, and they looked like they were all wearing the same thing. I said, oh, they all have matching attire working on this house, and it was because they were prisoners. And then I see the guy that was like the foreman or whatever.
Yeah.
He was our friend Tom A-Train from our gym that we worked out. We'll call it Zupanzik's, the greatest gym ever.
It absolutely was.
Yes,
it was.
Like nowadays, you go into Planet, what is it, Fitness or whatever. And everybody's wearing headphones. Nobody talks to me. So anyways, so this guy that was the foreman that was making sure I guess these guys were completely renovating a house.
Okay.
And the guy that was doing it was our friend Tom from Zupanzik. Super cool guy, fantastic athlete, and he was a great construction worker.
Right. Good carpenter, as I recall. Yes.
And so I guess what it was is these prisoners who, I guess they somehow earned the right to be able to leave whatever prison they came from every day.
Okay.
Go to 2500 North Delaware, and they knew how to do construction too. Okay. And we're completely renovating this house. So I pull in and I start talking to Tom, and I'm like, what's going on, Tom? He goes, well, I got these prisoners here. They're helping me rebuild this house, and, they get to be away from prison. And I was like, sweet. I go, I said, Tom, what happens if they decide? He goes, here's what I'm told to do. If they walk off the job site, I don't do anything, and somebody will pick them up later.
Right.
He says, so there's no confrontation with them.
Yeah.
And when I was talking to him, there's about 20 of them, and they were looking at me like, who's in uniform. They're like, who let this cop in here? They were a little bit, they were all standing back, in a big group, keeping the distance from me as I was talking to Tom. And me and Tom laughed and joked, and then I went back the next day, talked to Tom again, and they were less standoffish. By the third day, when I was talking to Tom, they were all standing around me asking questions about being a policeman. So I started asking them things, so, how'd you guys end up where you're at? And most of them were like, man, I did not do it. Nope, wasn't me. Wrong identification. One guy, that guy was already dead when they found him in the back of my truck. And I'm like, okay.
All right.
But after about a week, I would, because it was on my beat, and, I'd go there every day. they started getting to know me, and we'd just stand around, laugh and joke. And, it was just like being in the prison yard. You had the prison yard rules there, and you had guys that were running it.
Right.
You had a guy that was from the hood right around that area named Tommy.
Okay.
Little bitty guy ran the show. And then you had a big guy. He looked like a surfer dude, Dick Butkus.
Wow.
I mean,
that's a combo.
He was. Probably never touched the weight in his life and could bench press 400 pounds, squat 500.
Yeah.
And he was just an unbelievable athlete. And if he wanted to, he could crush you with his hands.
Right.
So anyways, he's a super nice guy. He's the one who talked to me a lot. His name was Dave. And then they had, your assortment of characters, like from the Burt Reynolds Longest Yard. And then you had the one Weasley guy. His name was Pee Wee. And the prisoners were always pissed at him.
Uh-huh.
I kind of felt sorry for him because every time I come there, he was either locked in the portalette or duct taped to the outside of the portalette. And I was like, why are you guys being so mean to Pee Wee? Untape him from the portalette. And they're like, Officer Super E, he's a pain in the ass. He pisses everybody off. He's got to be taught a lesson. I said, well, let him out of the portalette or take the tape. So we would just, they would be working and talking to me, and I'd be talking to them. So after a while, it wasn't talking about, what's it like to be a prisoner, what it's like to be a cop. It's just like talking about normal stuff. Then I started to notice that Pee Wee was starting to irritate me. And I was like, this guy is kind of pissing me off.
He's even starting to piss Super E off.
Yeah. I said, he's kind of a dick. No wonder they want to stick his head in the portalette. And so it had been long enough that I talked to him. Now it was like winter, and there's like 4 feet of snow on the ground. So I show up, and I would bring him. Roslyn Bakery would always give me free donuts to take to these prisoners.
That is cool.
They love that. So I would show up with a big thing of donuts. They love that. And there was like about 4 feet of snow on the ground that day. And it was kind of the snow you could pack and make snowballs.
Mm-hmm.
We're sitting there talking snow, and this Pee Wee guy is saying stupid shit. And then he's trying to throw snowballs at me.
Oh.
And I said, motherfucker. Finally, he came close. And I think he hit me.
Oh.
And then all the prisoners looked at me like, oh, what's Super E going to do? And I looked at him, and he's standing there going, and I looked at the other guys. I said, boys, handle it. And they swarmed on him like, he was a gazelle, and there was a bunch of hyenas. I mean, I was stunned by the ferocity and the freedom. They just started on him. Next thing you know, they had tied his feet, and they drug him through the snow and threw the rope over a limb and pulled him up. So he's hanging upside down, hanging by his feet.
Oh, no.
Like, what the fuck?
You just thought they were going to duct tape him in the portalette again or something.
And then next thing I know, they hang him. He's hanging upside down. Let me down. And then I see the prisoners starting to throw snowballs at him. I was like, you guys shouldn't do that, because then I noticed they were missing him. I go, you guys all suck. And they said, can you do better, Officer Super E? I said, give him a little push. So he started swinging like I was at the carnival, and I had all these snowballs, and I was blasting him. And I thought, I'm not setting a good example for the fellas here. So after about 15 snowballs, I said, take Pee Wee down.
God.
So anyways, we all had a good laugh about that, except for Pee Wee, but he was good natured about it. Getting hit by Super E with snowballs, gave him a little cred.
Right.
So anyways, so then after that, it started getting warm, and snow started melting, of course. But this dude, the guy I told you about named Tommy, he knew the people around there, and he was getting in beefs with them every day.
Oh, like from the neighborhood?
Yeah, people are driving by, starting shit with him. And then one time he was like, all he would do is they'd start, like 4 guys would get out of a car, start shit with him. And all he would say is, Dave. And remember Big Dave, the surfer Dick Burkus?
Uh-huh.
He'd come running out of the house because he was doing work on the inside and come running outside. And then some bitches climbed back in that deuce and a quarter and were gone.
Dave was the enforcer.
Yes. And so then I'm, like the next day I'm over there and Dave couldn't make it that day. I think he had to do something at the prison. So he didn't make it. Well, here comes another group of guys. I think they were in a 98. They start shit with Tommy. And then I noticed this Tommy guy, he was looking around. No, Dave. And they were getting out of the car, blowing him shit. And he goes, Officer Supery. I was behind the house. I walk up. I go, what's going on, Tommy? Man, these motherfuckers are bothering me. I said, you sons of bitches better get back in 998 and head back north, motherfuckers. And they looked at him like, Tommy, man, now you got the police protecting you. And so they drove off, and we all thought it was a big joke. But anyways, and then Dave comes back, and now it's warm. And I said, hey, fellas, I'm going to go get you some Roslyn donuts from the bakery. It's like 2 blocks away. And Dave looks at me. He goes, Officer Super, could I go with you? I didn't even think about it, about the ramifications of it. Because I hadn't read a general order, and I think it's in there. Don't be taking prisoners to the donut shop.
You can't take work release prisoners to the donut shop. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just looked at him, and he had to look at me like he was my kid brother. Please, can I go with you guys? Please? So I was like, sure, Dave. I looked at Tom. I said, can he go? And Tom's like, I don't care. So me and Dave jump in, and we head over to the Roslyn. He thought it was the greatest thing in the world. He couldn't stop thanking me, grinning ear to ear. Goes into the donut shop. The women that worked at the Roslyn Bakery, they were all a little sketchy. They all had the homemade tattoos. Had things misspelled like no regrets. That's no regrets. You didn't spell that.
Yes, right. Yes, you don't have even one regret.
So, anyways, so they walk in, they see me, and they knew that I was taking donuts to prisoners. So they see Big Dave. And all the women behind the counter, and of course they were very attractive in a skanky way with the missing teeth in the front. And they see Dave and they go, Officer Super, who do you got here? I go, this is Dave. Oh, does he work on the houses? They're all twirling their hair because they thought he was so handsome. I go, yes, he does. And I said, and ladies, the guy was already found dead when he was found in the back of the pickup truck. And they go, another man involved in a frame-up.
Oh, man, a gangster.
Yes. So we get the donuts. We're heading back. And unbeknownst to me, the lock on my shotgun rack had been broken. Because I just come back from a couple days off, and we didn't have take-home cars. Right. The cars are driven, 3 shifts a day.
Yep. Well,
I guess the lock had malfunctioned where the shotgun is right between the seat. And I didn't know. So as we're heading back to the house, we're pulling up to it. Dave looks at me and goes, Officer Super, can I take this shotgun and scare all these motherfuckers? And I was being sarcastic, like, oh, sure, no problem, Dave. Go ahead. We did not know the lock didn't work. As we pull up to the house, the windows are down. Dave snatches that shotgun, whacks this chamber in. He goes, oh, you motherfuckers hit the dirt. It was a 2-story house. Guys were diving out windows. They're all taking cover. I'm like, fuck! He's a prisoner with a shotgun.
Dave.
I was like, oh my God, this is not going to look good on my resume. and he's laughing. I go, give me that. And I was like, son of a bitch. It was the greatest day of his life.
Oh, yeah.
Every time I went there, he goes, man, I really appreciate you letting me point that shotgun at them guys. Taught them motherfuckers a lesson. I'm like, can you kind of keep that just between me and you? Don't be broadcasting that. And then, a couple months later, the house was finished. And they had a big ceremony there. And all the prisoners who worked on the house, they invited me to go to the ceremony they had for him because they were giving the house to a needy family. You know, where they cut the ribbon and the family got to go in.
That's very cool.
Yes, and so I was there, and all the guys were like, "We'd like to acknowledge Officer Supri that helped us out, and come by and visit and talk to us, and all that." They were going on about that, which I thought was very nice of them. But then Dave, the big guy, his mom and dad was there, and you could tell his mom and dad loved him to death, even though he was in prison doing dumb things.
Right.
Get there. Dave says to his mom and dad, he goes, "Mom and Dad, this is Officer Supri, works for the police department, and he's one of the best friends I've ever had." And right then, I got choked up. I had to push it back down.
Yeah.
And they came up, Mom and Dad were shaking my hand. "Officer Supri, thank you so much. Oh, you're such a positive impact on Dave." And I was like, thank you. And it was just, a good time. And sidebar, 10 years later, we go to Kentucky Kingdom with the kids. Who do I see? Big Dave with some kids about the same age as mine. This is 10 years later. And I go, "Dave, what's up?" I go, "How you doing?" He goes, "I'm doing great." He was helping run a construction company, and he was very successful now. I thought, a good thing came from this.
Man, that is awesome, Supri.
It was.
Man. See, you know what? Little things like that, man. You made a positive impact on those dudes.
Yes, letting them have some donuts, letting them point a shotgun at their.
Let's go back. Let them have donuts.
Yes, but like I said, when I saw that shotgun was ripped out, I saw that the lock was malfunctioned. I had to get that fixed.
Wouldn't that have sucked if you'd had to have shot Dave? That would have changed the whole trajectory of the story.
It would have been like, how did the prisoner get a hold of the shotgun? I gave him permission.
I didn't know the lock was broke. See, here's the deal. You treated them like human beings, which they are. They made mistakes, but they're human beings.
Exactly.
That's awesome, Supri.
10-4, A-Train.
All right. Well, when he pulled that shotgun, was Foreman Tom crapping himself?
Man, he did a half gainer, laid it in the dumpster.
Oh, that's great. All right. Well, Supri, on behalf of the community, I want to thank you.
Thanks, A-Train.
All right, everybody. Come on back, and we're going to hear some more. See ya.
Adios.